Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Dad Edge podcast. I'm Larry Hagner, your host and founder of this podcast and this movement. Hope you guys are having an amazing start to your 2022. And hopefully this year is treating you better than the last two. I know in our lives, we are operating within certain realms that we weren't operating within 2 years ago, but that's okay. Things in life are good as long as we make them intentional. So I've got a return guest for you guys today, but I'm going to start today with a quote, and that is, intelligence is knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. And I think that's perfect for today's podcast guest because he's on today. He's a business owner. So shout out to all you guys listening who are business owners. And this is also for you guys as well who are full-time employees somewhere. You're a W-2 somewhere. However, maybe you have a dream to build a business or to do the work that makes you come alive. And today we're going to give you a snapshot of how we can build a business around our lives and not a life around our business. And I've got a great guest for you today. David Anderson, he is a part of our Dad Edge Accelerator Business Mastermind. This is for our business owner dads. It's a little bit different from the Alliance. He is the owner and creative director for Chimeric Motion Pictures. And he's been doing videos since high school, but has professionally been making videos since 2007. He started working for Chimeric Motion Pictures in 2007 and eventually took ownership 7 years ago in 2014. He was actually on the podcast back in June. You guys loved his message because he came on to talk about how you optimize and integrate your mindset for a fantastic life. And today what we're going to do is we're going to just get a little bit more granular around how we can be more effective in our businesses without putting in so much more time. And again, whether or not you're a business owner or not, this is great for you guys also listening to the podcast if you are a W-2 employee somewhere else, because what we do usually is we work harder, not smarter in those jobs. And plus for you guys who are W-2s and you're like, man, I really want to start a side hustle. I really want to have a business, or maybe you have a business and you're just trying to figure out how to scale it. This message is for you, right? We can do all these things while also creating an incredible marriage and while creating an epic connection with our kids. So David, welcome back, man.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. You and I were joking before we got started today. I think you're the quickest returned podcast guest in history of Dad Edge in the past 7 years. But you had a very strong message in our mastermind session just a few weeks ago and things have changed for you a bit in your business from when I first interviewed you back in June of 2021. And your message hit our group of guys so hard that I was like, man, like everyone needs to know this information, whether you're a business owner or not, because what we tend to do is work ourselves to death, and more hours means more money, more hours means better. And we don't really understand that we can actually scale our impact and actually take more control over our time. So I'm excited to have you on today.
I'm excited to share whatever I can with you.
Cool, man. Well, let's refresh the guys' memories here. Let's just, where are you from? How many kids you have? Years married, whole 9 yards.
Yeah, so I am in Columbia, Missouri. I have 2 kids, Rhea, who is 10 now, just turned 10 in December. And my son Malik is 7. I've been married to my wife Patty for 15 years. We celebrated that back in September of 2021. And I'm the owner and creative director of Chimeric Motion Pictures. I've been doing with that particular business since 2012, and I've been with that organization prior to acquiring it since 2007.
That's awesome, man. How big is your staff?
So I'm the only full-time person currently, and whenever the previous owners had it, we were up to I think 6 full-time employees. And then when I acquired the business, I had conversations with a lot of those employees, and some of them were ready to kind of do something different. They wanted to go freelance and kind of explore their options. And really for me as a new business owner, wrapping my head around the finances and not just feeding my family, being responsible for feeding other people's families was pretty daunting at first. And so whenever I acquired the business, I only kept 1 full-time employee. And that's been the most I've had. I've had, 1 full-time employee on and off, different employees over the last 7 years. But currently, and for this whole past year, it's just been me as the only full timer.
But an extremely successful business, without a doubt.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 And, before we get into business, because everybody is so keen on, like, yeah, how do I actually spend less time at work or in my business? Because like most of us just think like, hey, the more time I trade, the more I sacrifice myself on the sword of time, and the harder I work and the more drained I feel, and the more tired I feel and the more exhausted I feel, that's a good thing. That means I'm working harder. And a lot of men, man, we wear this as like a badge of honor. Like I remember when I used to be in medical device sales and I was in management, and there were some weeks, man, where I was on 3 and 4 and 5 planes, sometimes flying around to, Michigan, and then Ohio, and then over Wisconsin, and then to Illinois, and then back home. And I was like, wow, like, look at all the work I did. I'm off, and then you come home and you're like, oh, wow, I missed everything this week of my family. And that badge of honor just doesn't feel so good. But let's talk about this first. As it relates to marriage, 15 years of being married, what are some lessons that you have learned around marriage that have been most valuable?
Communication. I mean, and I think that it's, sounds cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. I mean, being able to talk to your significant other about anything and everything, without feeling like you have to be guarded or you have to hold back or you can't be completely honest. I think that has been the key for the success that my wife and I have had. And it wasn't always that way. I mean, I think that, like most marriages, we felt like there were pockets of ourselves that we had to keep to ourselves. We were maybe embarrassed by it, or, we wanted to have a certain persona or a certain, put on a certain vision for our significant other, even though that's the person that you're supposed to be closest to. And I think that, once I learned that I need to just drop all of that and just trust, that she's going to love me no matter what. And as long as I'm honest and we can have that communication, that not only is it not worse, it's significantly better, because she can help me in areas that I'm struggling with, and I can help her in areas that she's struggling with. And I think that once we got to that place where we had that comfort level to be able to talk about anything and know that, no matter how we felt receiving that, we were going to listen, and we were just going to kind of, work through whatever that is. That's really when our marriage, I think, went to a different level.
Man, that's great. We didn't talk about this the last time. What advice do you have for men who want to get to that place, but they don't want to face the fire of like, oh crap, if I ask her this question, she might shoot me directly. And if she does, man, I just don't know if I can take that. It's like, not like ruthless, brutal honesty. Like I can't remember, it was Jerry Maguire, like ruthlessly. And he's like, I think you added the ruthless part, or however that went. It's been forever since I've seen that movie, but what was the catalyst as you look back at you and Patty's relationship that you're like, hey, let's just be very transparent with each other, even if it kind of stings?
We went through a portion where I was keeping secrets from her, and it was something that I was struggling with, and I was concerned that if I opened up to her, that it might be the end of our marriage. And I got to a point where I was just like, I can't continue to hide things from her. And I need to accept the consequences. And if that means the end of our marriage, then I'll have to just deal with that. And it was incredibly scary. But it was also one of those things where I also trusted that if I was honest and open and put the work in to regain her trust, that we could get back from that. And it was really tough. It was one of those things where when I first had that conversation, I was fully expecting her to say, pack your bags and leave. And to her credit, she didn't. She said, okay, I'm incredibly hurt, but if you can put the work in and you can become a better version of yourself, then I'm willing to put the work in and stick by you to help you figure out how to navigate that path. And it took, I mean, it was probably 2 to 3 years, to get to the point where, I'd regain that trust. And I think in that point in time, I didn't like who I was as a person. I didn't like who I was as a husband. I was a new father, and I was, I didn't like, I just didn't like who I was. And I think through that process, I learned that I have to love myself in order for me to be able to give love to other people. And I think that was really the catalyst for my journey into becoming the best version of myself, that I could be, and really putting in that work and focusing on me. Because up until that point, it was like you said, I was working, I was a W-2 employee, and I was just putting all this time, and I was giving and feeling like I was doing what I needed to do as a man and as a husband, but I was hurting. And instead of sharing that, and instead of being open about that, and instead of allowing her to be, my queen and help me through those things, I felt like I needed to be the king and just hold it all in. And it almost broke me. Thankfully, she supported me in that, and we, our marriage could not be better than it is now. And again, it just came down to that moment where I was like, I'm not okay with who I am, and if that means that me starting over in my marriage or in a different relationship, if that's what it's going to take for me to become the best version of myself, then I'm willing to take that risk and suffer those consequences that I earned. And like I said, to the credit of my incredible wife, she stuck by me and gave me the opportunity to become better, and to gain that trust back, and to be who I am today.
So, I'm so glad we're talking about this. I'm so glad we're talking about secrets in general, right? Because this is a big topic, and some secrets are big for men, and some secrets are kind of small, right? But secrets will kind of eat away at you. And I think the biggest secret that I ever hear about from men is their relationship with pornography, right? And listen, man, I have not met one guy that has, and by the way, yours truly included, who hasn't struggled with it either currently or some point in their life, right? To where it's so easily accessible. It's literally at your fingertips, anytime you want it. And it's one of those things that, can really creep in because we don't see the harmful effect that it could have on us. And other secrets are really big, some, and even on the other side, like even with like women, like I've known guys that have told me like, dude, like she's spending more money than she's telling me, things like that. It's like these little tiny holes in the boat of our marriage, right? But I'll tell you what, man, I got to commend you for being really, really brave, because back in 2017, I really hit a point where I went through a pretty horrible traumatic event where I didn't really sleep very well for like 33 straight days. And I was sleeping about an hour and a half, 2 hours a night. Basically what happened was I was in severe adrenal fatigue. And because of that, I ended up in the hospital. And because of that, I ended up with PTSD. Like the whole thing was really traumatic. I mean, one of the doctors that kind of helped me, guided me through that, he was kind of funny about it. He was like, he's like, your case is so fascinating to me. He goes, do you know you're one of only 3 people in the world that have lived that long through that? He just thought it was fascinating, but it took a horrible toll on my body. I lost, I don't have 30 pounds to lose, and I lost 30 pounds and dropped all the way down to 160 pounds. And it was pretty crazy. But what I did is I hid from my wife as far as like how bad it was for me, but she saw right through it. And she told me one day that she's like, hey, how do you expect me to be your queen if my king isn't talking to me? How do you expect me to rise up and help you out if you're not letting me into your world? Right. And I'm not going to think poorly of you if you're going through something horrible. And a lot of us, I think we have so much shame and so much guilt around maybe what we're feeling, what we're doing, what we're seeing, how we even perceive ourselves or whatever. And we don't let our wives in. And it's a huge missing opportunity, because we think like, well, in order for me to be strong for her, I need to shut her out and let me just deal with this like a strong man does. And that's actually I've had female podcast guest come on and talk about, like, that's one of the worst things you can do, because now it not only are you not letting me in, but you don't trust me enough to let me in to see if I can help you, which is, you're not giving me enough credit. So I honor you for that, man. That's awesome.
And to your story, like I went through something very similar in December of 2020. I mean, 2020 was a tough year for everybody. And my business model is getting large groups of people together in small confined spaces for extended periods of time. And so whenever, the pandemic hit, like it shut my business down. I couldn't shoot anything. I couldn't go out and do any of the work. And it took a toll on the business. It took a toll on me, because I think that, I moved away from being a W-2 employee, but then becoming a business owner. I think that now I'm a business owner and I'm the business. And so my identity and my worth was wrapped up in me being able to do the work. And when I couldn't do the work, that took a toll on me. And then, towards the end of 2020, when things started to open up a little bit, we got a ton of work coming in, and I just said yes to everything. And I just put it all on my shoulders and was working ridiculous days, 14, 16-hour days, only sleeping, a couple hours a night, and thought, well, this is what I need to do for my family. I need to put this on my shoulders. I need to, to run through. And, December 16th, 2020, I woke up at 3:30 in the morning, and I got up and was checking an upload for a client that I needed to deliver a video for them by the next morning to make sure that it had actually uploaded. And when I got up, I couldn't walk straight. My vision was all weird, and I just felt strange. And it's like I couldn't wake up. And I went and just laid back down in bed, and I felt this like fire in the middle of my chest. And it's kind of like when your foot goes to sleep, that like pins and needles tingly feeling. And it started at the middle of my chest and just kind of reverberated out all the way to my fingertips and to my toes, and then would dissipate, and it would start over again. And it was just like this throbbing. I got up and went upstairs and woke my wife up, and I was like, something's wrong. I don't know what's going on, but something's wrong. And we checked my blood sugar, and I think it was about 20. I think it was 28. It was or maybe it was 30, but it was significantly lower than it should have been. And so I was just laying on the floor in the bathroom, and she gave me some food, and got my blood sugar back up. But I spent 2 days in bed, just racked by stress. My body was tense and tight, and we couldn't keep my blood sugar up, and it probably took me, I would say it was probably 4 weeks to start to feel like a normal human being again. And it's funny, once I started feeling better, I was, ran an errand to the store, and I hadn't listened to your podcast in a while because I was too busy. Too busy to take care of myself. And there was an advertisement for the Business Accelerator, and it was talking about if you want to do something different, if you want to, run your business in a way that's sustainable, if you want to be a better father and a better business owner. And I was like, I need to change something. I need to change something, because what I'm doing right now is not sustainable. I literally worked myself into bed. And my kids saw me that way. My wife saw me that way. And while I was trying to be Superman and was trying to be strong and tough for them, I ended up showing them exactly what not to do, to the point that I couldn't even get out of bed. And that was a catalyst for me to decide I got to do something different. I can't always be the guy that is doing everything and it's just gonna put everything on my shoulders in order to make it happen. And so, I joined the accelerator, and really, that the journey that I've gone over in the last year, we had the best year we've ever had in 2021 when we came roaring back from a business standpoint. And I'm not the healthiest I've ever been, but I'm feeling really good. And I managed to pace myself. I managed to bring in help. I managed to work the business around my life and around, spending time with my family and being there for family vacation, and not working during family vacation, making sure that I'm not missing concerts for kids. I'm not missing softball games. I was able to assistant coach my daughter's softball this fall. And, if you would have asked me a year ago, I'd be like, I don't have time. I don't have time for that. Where am I going to fit that in? And what I decided was, no, that's why we're doing this. That all of that is the whole point. So I absolutely have time for that. And then work in the business, will slot in around that. And if there are things that need to get done that I don't have time to do, well, then I need to find people to help me with that. And I think that for me, that was one of the harder things, because as a creative, you're so wrapped up in creating the work, and I was telling myself the story that my clients were hiring me to create this stuff for them. And what I realized is that there's some truth to that, but there's also, there's a way that we do business, and there's a type of story that we tell, and there's a way that we treat our customers. And I'm not the only person in the world that can do that. I can teach other people how to do that, and I need to teach them, and I need to let them bring their own creativity, and they need to be able, to put their mark and make things better ultimately than if I were to try to do it all on my own.
Dude, you know what? You said so many things there. Let me pick apart a couple of really big highlights just so the guys heard it. More hours and destroying yourself isn't the answer. And it doesn't give you a badge of nobility either. Does it make you a hard worker? Yeah. But it can also put you 6 feet under a lot faster than what we think. And by the way, when we're talking about creating an epic connection with our kids and creating experiences and memories and all these things with them, well, we got to be there, right? We have to be there, and we have to be the healthiest version of ourselves, most importantly, mentally and emotionally. And if we are burning the candle at both ends in our business life, whether you're a W-2, whether you're a W-2 with a side hustle, or you own your own business, there are ways that we need to scale our business so we can actually have a life. My wife and I were actually talking about this not too long ago, that, people, really smart business owners, right? They didn't start a business to work themselves into a low-paying full-time job. They started a business because their most precious asset was their time. And they wanted to create a business that also complemented the time and how they want to spend time in their personal lives, right? Because we can actually, if you're a really good business person, Tony Robbins said it best: become a business owner, not a business operator. Hire the people to operate your business, but own your business. Be the vision, be the design, and let the other people do what they're supposed to do, right? And you're right. Bringing other people in to help is a huge compliment. The people on my team, they do work that makes them come alive. Like, for instance, my assistant, she also runs my merch store, our merch store, our shop where we sell our t-shirts and hats and everything. And she loves what she calls brainless. She's brilliant, but what she loves, it's very therapeutic for her, is to turn on her music, light a candle, and to do something that shuts her mind off, which is like factory work in a way. Like, hey, I print this off, I put in the shirt, I take the box, I tape it up, and I put it to the side. Boom, 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 boom. Me doing that, I literally want to poke my eyeballs out with hot pokers, because it doesn't get my creative juices going, right? I'd much rather be interviewing you than putting a shirt in a box and sending it out. And she loves that. Like, let those people do that, and then let obviously work in our zone of genius. So I love that you did that. I want to get just a little bit more detail around, you were able to accomplish something this past year, as we look back on it, to where you hit numbers of revenue, and we don't have to share the numbers of revenue unless you want to, but the numbers of revenue far beyond what you thought were possible, while also achieving one other thing that I thought was fascinating.
Yeah. So we set a goal, and I mean, if you want to do the math, if you're so inclined, we set a goal with the accelerator at the very beginning of the year. And one of the goals that I set was that, I wanted to do, 50K, average of 50K a month. And in my business, it's very cyclical. It's project based. And so we may have a month where we don't bring any revenue in, just based on where the billing and invoicing falls. And we may have one where we do, 6 figures, 7 figure, or 6 figures in billing. And then the other goal that I had, when I bought the business 7 years ago, I told myself, I'm taking the month of December off. I love the holiday season, and I love that I'm so um, thoughtful in that time. You're reminiscing about and you're looking back about the year and introspective. And I've always wanted to just take that time to really process everything, and take stock of what we did, be grateful for the year, spend time with my family. And 7 years ago, when I acquired the business, I told myself I'm going to take off December. And every year since then, I've told myself I'm going to take off December, and I never have. So at the beginning of this year, as part of our goal setting for the accelerator, I told myself I'm going to take off 4 consecutive weeks, which I've never done ever, as a W-2 employee or as a business owner. And we are closing the business starting the 23rd of December, and I'm not reopening it until the middle of January. And the other goal that I set for myself last January was that I was going to take my family on their first ski trip. And we have that booked, and we leave the 2nd of January to go out to Colorado to do a ski trip with the family. And not only did, from a financial standpoint, from the business, not only did we meet that goal, we almost doubled it, based on what I wanted our average monthly revenue to be.
That is, and you have more time.
And I have more time. This summer we took the kids on vacation to the beach. This is the first family vacation that I've taken that the only thing I did was I checked email for about 15 minutes once a day. And I didn't even do it every day that I was there. And I know that my wife appreciated it, but I think the thing that hit me the hardest was my kids. When I was on the beach and I didn't have to, go up and, take a phone call, or I didn't have to go up and check email. Like, I was there and I was with them, and they asked a couple times, don't you have to work? And I was like, nope, I don't have to work. There's other people working right now. I got to check email and just make sure everything, if there's any questions, and answer some questions, but no, I'm all yours this week. And to see the joy in their eyes that they didn't have to share their dad, on vacation for the first time in their entire life that's happened, was pretty special.
That's a huge win, man. That is a huge win, and good for you. It's funny. I mean, you do business with us, but what we practice or what we preach in Accelerator, I also practice. It was December of 2020. Myself, I hired a business coach to come in and do a 3-day intensive with me, because the organization had gotten so big and so busy, and we had so many members that we really wanted to tighten some things up and get people, job roles and duties and that kind of thing. And one process that I had never gone through was really identifying, like, what do I do? Because I tried to do everything, right? So what do I do and stay in my lane? And what I learned out of that is within 2 weeks, we were able to put in systems and structure and the right people to where I could do the same, where I could do the work, that most important work that made me come alive, that moved the organization forward, but also wasn't sacrificing time. We went to Disney between Christmas and New Year's of 2020. I'd never been to Disney. Out of all 6 people in my house, my wife was the only one that went. And same thing for you. Like, this is crazy, man. Even as I say it out loud, I'm not proud of it. But back then, for some crazy reason, I was like, man, look how hard I'm working. I'm checking emails on vacation. Like, I never take a day off, hustle, right? And I'd never really understood, like, I thought I got so confused with my position as the provider of my family, that I forgot about the providing of my family, which is also me and my emotional attention to them. And so anyway, we're in Disney, and I literally shut everything off for 7 days. I didn't check email. I didn't check social. I just was on vacation, and my wife came to me and she just said, I'm really proud of you. And I'm like, proud of me for what? She's like, you didn't get on your phone. You didn't check email. Like, you were here, like, really, really here. And I thought that was, and we grew in that week. The Dad Edge grew, the business grew. And I was like, and that was just such a breath of fresh air, being like, I can still do the right work, that it doesn't even require so much of my time, but the right work. And then let other people and let other things do the other stuff. So then I can, listen, if I'm doing this work and I am not showing up for my family, then all this is, to be honest, is for nothing for me personally. So I got to be able to do both. And I love the fact that you did both. One last question that I have for you on this is, you came, this was a physical, and by the way, my background is in health, optimal blood sugar is between 80 and 120. To be at 30, that is freaky, man. That's like, you're going to go into a coma, but so I really want your message to resonate with guys who are just, they have this perception of like, I'm just going to kill myself with how hard I work because that's what I'm supposed to do. And yet they don't really realize the detrimental effects, because you can only do that for so long. Like, you can literally only sprint for so long. Last and final story, I'll tell you, I took all my boys to the track, because my boys, meaning the running track, no, not the horse track. I don't take my boys gambling, but we were all kind of running around. We were having fun and doing sprints. And my 5-year-old got so angry, because he's so competitive. And I was like, buddy, what is wrong? And he's like, I'm tired. And I'm like, yeah, you're tired. Like, I was so confused. And he's like, I can't run anymore. I'm like, well, of course you can't. Like, he sprinted a quarter mile. He's 5. I'm like, well, of course you can. And he's like, but I can't run anymore. So basically I was so confused by his mentality, but basically what he was telling me was, I need to be able to run as hard as I can for as long as whatever. Like, and if I'm tired, that's wrong. And I was like, oh my gosh, buddy, like, listen, you can only run at that pace for so long. The human body can only take so much. But he was upset and pissed. But a lot of guys have that mentality as it pertains to work.
Yeah. And you said, I'm supposed to work this hard and run this hard because I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
Who says you're supposed to do that?
Yeah.
And I think that is, because, and I'm with you, because I felt like that's what I'm supposed to do. As a man, as a business owner, as a provider for your family, like there's an image that we have that you need to be, and you're supposed to sacrifice yourself for them, but you don't do them any good as a husband, as a father, if you can't enjoy the time with them. I mean, they're not going to look back at you and say, I'm so proud of my dad for working all the time. Remember that time when he got sick and couldn't get out of bed because he worked so hard for us? That's hopefully that's a memory that they don't remember, but if they do, it's not going to be a good one. It's not one that they're going to look back on fondly, and I think that we have to stop telling ourselves that we have to run ourselves into the ground. That we don't have enough time with our kids to waste it trying to be an imaginary version of what we think we're supposed to do, a superhero or Superman or whatever that is. And I'm just thankful that the scare that I had was just a scare, and it didn't turn into something more serious. And I think one of the memories that is burned into my brain is one of those mornings when I was laying in bed and I couldn't get out of bed. I heard my family in the living room, or in the kitchen, getting ready for school, and my wife was talking to them, and they were laughing and joking about something and having a good time, and I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any emotion, and that scared the shit out of me. That hearing my kids laugh didn't have an emotional connection to me. I felt like I was a million miles away, and it was in that's like, I don't ever want to feel this again. I don't ever want to feel this again, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And if that means I can't be a business owner, if that means I need to press reset on this and figure something out, then that's what I'm going to do. Because what's happening in that kitchen that happens, that I'm a part of every morning, in there laughing and getting the kids ready for school, being absent from that, it crushed me. But it was a defining moment, I think, for me, of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes, to not ever experience this again.
I'm so glad you hit that home, man. And by the way, I'm so proud of you. And that I hope that doesn't come across in a condescending way, or patronizing way, but I am so proud of you that the fact that you had this insane record-breaking year with your business, and you were able to achieve the time with your family, take off, December 23rd into January, go on your ski trip, that bucket list. And most importantly, bring on people to do the work that doesn't make you come to life. I mean, that in and of itself, and I'm just being really real with you, man. It warms my heart to see the look on your face, the look in your eyes, and the tone in your voice as you tell this story, because there's so much satisfaction in it. Right? There's so
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, every guy walking the planet, we only have one life. I mean, people hear in the intro, you got one shot at this, make it epic. And unfortunately, guys are working themselves into the ground, and that's not epic, right? Or they're exhausting themselves to the point so much that they can't come home and show up. So, dude, I appreciate your message today. When you shared, obviously the numbers will keep confidential, but it was a stellar year for Dave. And then also while balancing that with the personal time and enjoying what you do in the business, that's why I was like, man, you need to come back and share that message, because the first message didn't have that in there. And this one does. And so many of us who are business owners, even so many of us who are W-2 workers, we miss that. We miss that message. So thanks for coming on and resharing.
Yeah. And just to kind of to the W-2 point, I mean, when I was a W-2 employee, I did the math and I looked at what I was making and I looked at the amount of hours that I was putting in, and I looked at, what we were able to save, and, that maybe the 3% increase a year, or maybe a 5% increase if it was a good year. And I did the math out. I was like, I'll never be able to retire.
Yeah.
The math doesn't work. And that realization is like, well, I got to do something different. And, I think that, maybe owning this business is the next evolution. And it was scary in making that decision. And my wife, she said, I mean, I think when I came to her, we were 2 months away from having our second child. And I was like, I'm going to acquire this business. She was like, are you crazy? And I was like, probably, but here's why, and I feel like it's more risky for me to stay where I'm at and keep doing what I'm doing than it is for me to take this chance. And she trusted me and said, okay, let's do it. And we did it. And it was the best decision I made from a financial standpoint for my family. But then I also got into this mentality of, well, the more I work and the harder I work, the better it's going to be from a business standpoint, and the better it's going to be from a financial standpoint. And that mentality served me well for a period of time until it didn't. And I think that now I'm on the next evolution of, okay, well, what does success look like, for me moving forward? And it's honestly, it's opening up my business to other incredibly talented individuals that need a shot, and that deserve a shot to let their light shine and to really come alive and learn and grow, in a way that I was able to when I was working for someone else, and grow into a business owner. And so I think that that's what I'm most excited about moving forward, is having these people that have joined my team and letting them kind of spread their wings and fly and grow, and me being able to, provide an opportunity for that and be, a mentor to them and provide, that growth opportunity and see where they go and in conjunction where they take the business.
So cool, man. You're doing good work in the world, man. And for those of you guys who have landed on, it's not up yet, but we're going to be refreshing some video footage for the Data Edge Alliance landing page, as well as our course on patience, as well as our course on creating extraordinary marriage. And if you're catching this, obviously this podcast in January, come check out those pages in March, because Dave and I are working on a project. You'll be able to see some of his work. He's going to be doing some filming with me, and you'll be able to see his creative juices. So more to come on that. I'll make sure to let you guys know when those things are up, so just so you can see how talented this man is. So Dave, thank you so much for coming on, man. This was so cool again, and such a good message. And what a way to kick off 2022, because this is the type of stuff we need on our radar, man.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. I appreciate you having me back and giving me the space to share.
You bet, my friend. Gentlemen, before we head out of here today, what we're going to do, I'm going to direct you to a couple of things. If you want to actually, if you're a person who requires some creative video, footage in your life, make sure we'll have all of Dave Anderson's links in the show notes if you want to just connect with him directly. Also, we'll have an application for you guys as well, for those of you guys who are business owners. And if you're intrigued by what we do over at Detach Accelerator, we help you scale your business while creating an extraordinary marriage and an epic connection with your kids, all three things. And yes, if you're a business owner, you can have it all. Dave, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure, man. Appreciate you.
You bet. Gentlemen, go to thedatedge.com/Friday35 for this show. Again, thedatedge.com/Friday35. Go out, live legendary. Take care.